Hi folks, welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for joining me once again. You are always most welcome. Well, hot on the heels of my talk about Zoukei Mura, I said at the end of the review, talking about the history of the company and my thoughts on them, and I was very, very enthusiastic, it has to be said. I'm sure most of you will agree that was the flavour of it. And I did say at the end that we were desperately waiting for this this FW190 A-4 that was been due really since sort of September, October. We were expecting it, and it sort of crept back. And I know there's been some actual problems, practical problems with the shippers, because some of the ships, container ships, have been attacked by apparently Yemeni Houthi rebels going up towards the Suez Canal. And I'm told that there's even possibility that a lot of shipping companies are now going to have to divert. They're so concerned about it. The insurance probably won't cover them going up there anymore for the time being until the thing gets resolved. But, you know, international politics or whatever, I don't know. But clearly it's a bit of a war zone. And they're now talking about having to go up around the Cape Horn and... or is it Cape of Good Hope? I was getting mixed up. But around the bottom of Africa anyway, and all the way up the Atlantic. It's a huge detour. It's probably 3 weeks extra. But anyway, so that could delay other things coming from the Far East. More in the future, so be aware of this, because I think that anything that's coming from that part of the world that was due around now has probably been, you know, delayed for that reason. So anyway, that's the story we're hearing. Anyway, enough of that. Here we go then. So we've been waiting for this for a long time. Very much looking forward to it. Is it going to be the kit of the year, the best kit of the year? Possibly. Let's have a look. We'll reserve judgment on that for another day. But today, let's do a review and get right into it. So, zoom in on it, and we'll put the light on to give you a little bit more illumination. And let's have a proper close look at something we've really looked forward to for a while. One of the highlights of the year, I think, this year for sure. So, it's the Super Wing Series kit number 21. There you go. On the side, this particular version, the early issue, comes with the Eric Hartmann resin figure. Eric Hartmann, a German fighter ace, of course. A couple of nice photographs on the side. On the other side, more nice photographs. Really nice, nicely built example. As you can see, shots at the back. We've got the engine. We've got the cockpit there, and then a shot with Hartmann standing in front of it as well. So yes, very impressive indeed. So without further ado, I think we get straight into this. You've heard all the background, yeah, you've seen the rest, now it's time for the best. Can it match that Tamiya F35 order? I don't know. Right, so pop that over there. Oh, looks like we've got some, I'll zoom in, looks like we've got some amendments for beautiful FW190. Well, modest, eh? Okay, so there's a couple of amendments. We'll get into that in a minute. Yeah, pull that out. And here, looks like we've got our... There we go. We've got our Siegfried Schnell figure. It comes in a separate little pouch, as you can see. We'll get into that in a second too. And now, we will get that plastic out. Oh, there's a lot of plastic here. A lot of plastic. Sorry, zoom you back. An awful lot of it. Goodness me, look at this thing. Oh, ribs, wings, flaps, more wings. Goodness, this is going to take a while, let's see. So I suggest you all pour yourselves a nice drink, get some snacks, and we'll have a proper look at this. Let's see what we've got. So, I've now lost my remote control. So, don't control what's going on. Oh, there we go. Right, so much of it, I'm not sure where to begin. We'll just bring that amendment and the Schnell figure over here. We will do what we always do. I'd start easily looking at the instructions and decals and all that kind of stuff. And we'll just carefully pop that over there. I think we're in for an absolute treat today, for sure. And I'm going to build this kit, so I'll be opening the bag. You'll be pleased to know you're going to see it up close and personal today. I do own it, and I'm going to build it next year. There's a commitment for you. So, I've been waiting for a nice 190 to come along, and I saw the border model, and we know my views on this, and already made them clear. Yeah, I think the scale was wrong, and there's a few things that were wrong, like not telling you about what the internal colours of anything is. Nice plastic, but wasn't for me, to be honest. Alright, so we'll have a look at this little amendment just to get it out of the way. And this sums up the attitude, doesn't it? I talked in the in my sort of lecture, wreath lecture on Zoukei Mura, and I said about them how they have this attention to detail. Well, this is proof of it. These people make a mistake and they realise it and they go back and they correct it. They don't just say, it'll be fine, you know, like Kinetic or, you know, some of these other guys like Border and one or two others, it'll be fine. It just send it out to market. And these guys, no. We must tell the customer that there's a problem. We must correct our issue that we've created, and here they go. So here we go, they've got, it says here, the fuselage panels are perfect jigs to check the alignment of parts. Before gluing, check whether every part leans correctly and make them to be aligned. Make sure before gluing, check for any distortion or fitting. And then go to the next page. Oh, I see cockpit, and then the second page, it says go to the next page, and then it gives you a little bit more detail about cutting off important areas. It's obviously just something they've slightly overlooked, and then when they've probably built the kit, they have realised that this needs to be communicated to the customer, to the model builder. Not like my Sea Harrier, where obviously nobody ever built that kit before it left the factory, otherwise it would never have left with those instructions. I'm talking about the FRS1, not other versions of it, okay. Right, engine mount. Choose from either way to attach. So obviously they've decided that there's... Okay, what they're really saying here is that you can attach the engine with all its gubbins and then basically straight onto the bulkhead at the back, or what looks like part of the mounting, you can actually put the mounting sort of frame, put that first and then attach the engine onto that later. So you've got two different ways of doing it, which is very interesting. Landing gear, tips for attaching the landing gears. Tip 1, glue firmly here. Minimum gluing. Too much gluing melts the plastic and will disrupt the angle. So again, you can tell that they've actually experienced this. They've been doing some test building, and they've thought that they need to communicate that to you. This is what a proper professional, you know, company does, that has an attention to detail and is concerned the customer gets the best experience. Just flicking back onto the other page, sorry. This one, it now talks about the angle of the front bulkhead, it looks like here. And again, it enlarges the image, and they leave no stone unturned. I know I'm repeating myself from the other show, but there's the proof of what I was talking about, yeah? A tiny error, it may not be a mistake as such, it may just be something, probably from what I'm reading, something they've experienced in actually making the kits, and thought, oh, we have found a way around this and we should share it with the customer. Isn't it brilliant? Fantastic. Super, super, super. What else we got? We've got a mask set, which they always do with this rather curious green. Is it actually? It's actually tape, or it's self-adhesive film. But they're all pre-cut. I can see that they are pre-cut. Then you can make them out. You see there, you can just make it out, can't you? So that's very good. Then we have got some promotional blurb with their other products. Here it is. Order closed. I hope you got your pre-orders in, folks. Shows the rest of the range. There's the G14, and of course you will, I'm sure, be able to get more of these in the not too distant future, but they won't have the Hartmann figure in them, I'm sure. On the back we've got all their other massive range, some really interesting stuff. You've got the P51D, you've got the Raiden, you've got the Shinden, which look like something out of a science fiction film. It's like something out of Star Wars, isn't it, really? And then you've got your Hortons, your Files, you've got the Toryu, okay. And then on the fast jets you've got the Phantom range here, and they've got 5 different variants. That's 6, 7, and they've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So they've got the Wild Weasel, they've got the Phantom 2J, they've got the E, the J, the early J. The early J and the late J, I think it is. Then they've got the D, which I reviewed recently, and the C, and the S. God, incredible. So that's 8 Phantoms in the range. And then you've got these other, these are at 48 scale, I should stress. And you've got the Horton. I'd like to see them do a lot more in that scale, I must say. I think that Somebody was telling me, I can't remember which, forgive me, I only just read it a short while ago, but one of you mentioned you've got this, the Horton in the 144 scale, saying how nice it was. That's another good scale for them, because they're so precise, you know, on these bigger sort of aircraft. That would work well for them at 144. I'd like to see more at that and more at 48. Anyway, there we go. So you get a nice info sheet to sort of make you hungry for more. Whets your appetite, doesn't it? So put them together. Let's get the old decals out. See what we've got here. These are Cartograph, printed in Italy. Can't go wrong, can you? They're doing it all right again, aren't they? So here we go. And again, sensibly, they've created a means here, if you wish to create your swastika to make it look authentic. And they do it in a way which doesn't upset anybody, but still enables you to have it. Not like our friends at Airfix and Revell and everybody else who just gives all these reasons why they can't do it. It can be done, can't it? It can be done, you know. That is not the emblem unless you make it the emblem. So there's nothing in law, I'm sure, that can, you know, that can actually stop that. But anyway, there we go. I'm not an expert about what the German law is, obviously, but I think it needs to be addressed. But Airfix in particular, if you're watching, you really need to think about this again. And then you've got all the kill bars, because Hartmann was an ace, of course. How many has he got here? What's that, 10, 20, 29? It's just off the top of my head, it looks like 37 kills. Gosh. Wow, okay. I've got some, you can see the actual nature of the decals. It's that's not excess film, you can see there. It has a white flash around the black. I just thought then, I thought that's very thick carrier film. It's not, it's the white, it's just the way it looks under the lights. And then you've got all your many stencils, you've got your instrumentation decals here. Yeah, absolutely gorgeous, really. Yeah. Do not walk here in German. Yeah, very nice. Flawless Cartograph, you know they're going to work. It's not going to give you any issues. We are in business, okay? Right, so there we go. Let's have a look at the instructions and then we'll get cracking into the bit you really want to see, which is the plastic. In fact, before we do that, the instructions are usually quite a long affair on these kits. I'm going to have a look at the figure and see what's here, right? Because this is part of the attraction of this particular first issue, has been the Eric Hartmann figure. So let's zoom in here and have a proper look at this. Sorry, I keep saying Hartmann, don't I? I'm getting mixed up between the two kits, forgive me. Siegfried Schnell, which is a great name, isn't it, for a fighter pilot? Basically Siegfried Speed, it means. Yeah, sorry, I was calling him Hartmann a couple of times back there. Right, now then. Okay. Oops. Zoomed in a little bit too much there. Now then. So here we've got the guide. Gives you the colours. Siegfried Schnell. There we go. Bonus resin figure. Hey, look at that. What a beauty. Yeah, there we go. Fairly straightforward. It looks like just in two pieces, one separate head, and the rest of the body is all there for you. Probably best using super glue on that one, I think. So there he is. Let's have a look at the actual figure then. Let's just get him out of this bag. Whoops. Right. There we go. Oh, it's a nice one, this. It's a really nice one. I think this is better than the Hartmann figure, actually. See, look at it a bit closer here. So you've got the iron cross. Right, my eyes are not that wonderful. Just a second. I'm just going to reach for assistance. The optivisors. Yes, he's got iron cross. Is it with oak leaves? It's, wow. I can tell you this, and I'm not sure if it's coming out on the camera. I'm not sure if anything's coming out on the camera. Come on, what's it doing? There we go. But just looking through the optivisor, this is amazingly detailed. It's really a nice resin figure they've produced here. That is just stellar. And we've got his head. I'm just going to put my optivisors back away over here. 1 second. We've got his head here, which will... It's a nice figure. It's a really, really good one, the way they've got the detail in this one. Yeah. And my camera has, I know I always say this, but it doesn't do it straight away, but after a second or two the camera realises it's a human face and it locks on with a special crosshair because it focuses on faces. And then we've got the back of the hat, his cap. That's a beauty though. It's really, really some of the best resin figures I think I've seen in one of these kits. It's like the ones in Wing Not Wings, it reminds me of that a lot actually. So, there you have it. Siegfried Schnell in all his glory. Very, very good indeed. I'm just going to check that I've got my electrical power on here because I seem to be having a slight issue with my electrics. I'm just making sure we don't have any power outages. So, I'm going to pop that back in its bag. It's a nice, beautiful figure. Wonderful. Worth waiting for. Definitely worth waiting for. I mean, we are 3 months late with this one, to be honest, and I think it was worth the wait. Worth the wait. So there you go. So right, now then. Now, if you just bear with me a second, I'm going to open this so you can have a look, and then I'm just going to check my camera because it's showing that I'm a little bit low on power, and I'm wondering if I've not plugged in or something. We don't want any incidents, things going wrong with our power supply. So if you just hang on a second, I'm going to make sure that we have, and I've actually resolved it already. We did have an issue, which won't take me a second to fix. And we shall have power again. Sorry about that, folks. These things do happen when you're doing live TV. Actually, there's like a junction box on the power supply transformer and it comes separated for some reason. Anyway, let's crack on. So, zoom you in. Here we are. So they're doing again like one of these in-period manuals from the manufacturer. You know, it's like Kurt Tank's very own work. You've got an introduction here which goes into great detail, and basically says served in Europe in World War II, Western Front, Eastern Front, protected the German homeland in the last stages of the war. Initially developed in 1938, commissioned by the RLM, the German Air Ministry. And from the outset of the war it was going to be powered by a BMW 801 radial 14-cylinder air-cooled engine. So it's a BMW engine here. BMW 801 D2 in fact. First prototype. First flight in June 1939, and of course it became operational in 1941, late 41 I think it is. Talk about production in 42. And he goes on to say, this aircraft flown by Captain Siegfried Schnell was credited with 93 aircraft shot down. 93? I mean, there was a lot of exaggerated claims, weren't there? Especially on the Eastern Front, they reckon. But he still obviously was a very talented pilot. And it goes on to say, zoom me back a bit. It goes on to say, he earned his first aerial victory during the invasion of France on the 14th of May in 1940. He'd be flying an ME-109E then. And his 20th aerial victory during the Battle of Britain, for which he was awarded the Knight's Cross of the Iron Cross. In the summer of 41 he was appointed commander of the 9th Squadron of the 2nd Fighter Wing after his 45th victory, and was awarded the Knight's Cross of the Iron Cross with oak leaves on May 43. I thought it had oak leaves on it on the figure. Captain Schnell was assigned to the Eastern Front as commander of the 3rd Squadron of the 5th Fighter Wing, but he was shot down near Leningrad in February 44, shortly after taking command of the 4th Squadron. We invite you to replicate Captain Schnell's aircraft with its 1943 markings, with yellow 4 and large eagle on the fuselage, and 75 victory markings on the rudder. 75? And did I? Gosh, okay, I wasn't counting them all. Must be in two sets. That's incredible. Anyway, enough of that. Let's have a proper look at this so you can see what's going on here. So I think that is quite remarkable. Quite remarkable. So it shows you the engine. A bit of a talk about the engine here. Goes into the armour mount. Two 7.92 Rheinmetall MG-17 machine guns in the nose, and then it's got two 20mm cannons on the wing roots. Here we have the full layout, and it gives you a guide at the bottom, a bit like the one I showed on the file, and the guide shows basically a quick guide saying what each section is as you go through the build. They call it tile. But obviously it's stage 3 to 1, 3, 2, 3, 3 and so on. Cockpit armour, but it shows you a bit of history about every element of it. It talks about the cockpit armour, it talks about the tailplane, gives you a bit of detail. Landing gear tells you about that. The radio tells you about the detail about the radio. It's all here, isn't it? It's all here, yeah? Fuel capacity in the fuel tanks, what fuels they use. It's all here, yeah? Somebody said to me the other week, oh, you don't need all that. You don't need all that. You can just go and do it on the internet. How long would it take you to get this level of detail, researching yourself? Yes, I'm not against research. I do it all the time, of course I do. But I don't want to have to... There may be other elements to this. You might want to go do research about his aircraft and what, you know, any damage you sustained. But you're not having to research the basic fundamentals of the subject matter. It's all done for you. One person does it, instead of 3,000, 5,000 models across the world having to all keep doing the same research. How inefficient and annoying, time consuming. You know, life is too short. This is the most... This exceeds Tamiya, doesn't it, in terms of the lengths they're going to and the data they're giving you. It really does. I mean, Tamiya are great, don't get me wrong. But this is just fantastic. Anyway, sound like I'm having a rant, but I don't mean to. So... yeah, here we go, yellow 4. So yellow 4, of course, was Schnell's aircraft. In France, in fact. In France, January 43. Gosh. So he moved around quite a lot, didn't he? Eastern Front, Western Front. Quite a lot on the Western Front. And then there's another one that's in Russia, Eastern Front. So, I've zoomed in too much. Right. The engine, the motor. So you're going to build up your BMW... engine with its 14 cylinders. It's got, what is it, 2 lots of 7, is it? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so it's basically 2 banks of 7, one in front of the other. You're going to build those up. And you've got your, but again, giving the detail what you're building, you know, this is what we need. We know exactly what we're building here. Baffle plates. The push rod. The block of push rods. Look at that. Intake manifold. Jeez. Lower engine block. And again, photographs in colour showing you exactly what it should look like when you're done. Left side view, rear view. Nothing's left to chance, all the information for you is here. Bottom exhaust pipes. Left side view, rear view. The rear accessories cover. Wow. Some detail there, isn't there? It's quite a complicated looking engine, isn't it? But to be honest, radial engines always look complicated to me because I just can't quite get my head around them. Top exhaust pipes here, and these are the ones, of course, you see coming out. They come out at the top of the fuselage sides, either side of it, I should say. And then it shows the parts configuration after assembly. Again, nothing's left to chance. They're helping you every step of the way. Engine mounting ring here. Now, this is the one that's mentioned in the supplementary instructions, where you don't have to stick it on like that. You can put the engine mounting ring onto the fuselage first, then mount the engine onto that. So obviously they've probably done it both ways and found that perhaps it's a little bit easier to do that. It's trial and error, isn't it? But clearly they're giving the option either way. Again, clear images of what it should look like. Got the baffle plates going on here. Supercharger ducting. Incredible. Supercharger duct on the right side here. front of the engine, complete with its cooling fan, which is something that they didn't actually design originally, apparently, that Kurt Tank did when he started doing the flights. They were overheating engines and it just couldn't get enough cooling. So they put this big fan on the front, which is quite characteristic of the aircraft. And you can see here exactly the show, just exactly how that actually configures relative to the front of the engine there. Beautiful. And again, showing you what it should look like as a finished piece, sub-assembly. And then this is installation of your push rod block. Yeah, they called it push rod back, didn't they? I knew it should have been push rod block. I think somebody got lost in translation. And then all your auxiliary equipment, you've got things like starter motors and I think it's magneto, sort of magneto powertrains and things. Such detail though, it's like building the real engine, isn't it? I mean, this is just a model in its own right, to be quite honest. And then you got, you know, front view, left side view, everything's made clear. More auxiliary equipment, oil. Oh, here we go. It even goes into the detail of what it is here. So it's saying what they are, and it says E23. This one is the oil filter. E16 is the generator. E14 is the fuel injection device, and E15 here is the fuel pump. Amazing, brilliant, absolutely stunning. And you've got, you know, if you take me at my word, I think that the engine is so good you want to put it on an exhibition stand and exhibit it separately. They give you the stand as well. Look at that, isn't that brilliant? Then the finished engine, and this is what it should look like. And again, full colour photographs, so you know exactly what the colour should look like. Perfect. And the Führer Raum, or the room of the leader, the room of the pilot, cockpit. Yes, I'm not sure that was the best choice of language, but anyway, cockpit floor going in here. And again, let's zoom in for this. Lots and lots of detail. Shows you all these little inserted photos and inserted diagrams, so you're not left in any doubt about which part goes where. Lower instrument panel, fuel selector, lever, T-handle, T5 T-handle. Brilliant. Cockpit console then coming in, and this is basically all the side panelling with all the switches and additional controls. Then you're going to bring in your seat and your control stick. Bulkhead at the back, complete with a radio gear. It was normal for the Germans to have their radio behind the pilot. You know, that was quite typical. The Mustang was the same, wasn't it, really? And then instrument panel, you've got different options here. Where you use clear parts. So you've got an option where you just use a decal, or you've got an option where you use decals and you put clear parts over the top as well, it seems. Applying the decal onto the whole surface, or applying the decal onto the reverse side. So again, you've got two different ways of, if you're using the clear parts, you put the decal on the back and then the clear part goes on the front. Now that works very well in my experience with Tamiya. If you look at the two, actually, you can kind of see that. If you look, left one looks great, but then when you see the right one, it sort of has a bit more animation. It's the kind of 3D. So I think that's the way I'd go. And then we've got the radio itself going in here, as I mentioned, behind the pilot. Right on the back bulkhead. It's way behind the pilot, actually. It looks like it's got an auxiliary fuel tank behind him. Gosh, I bet it's got plenty of armour plating. Well, it has. Rudder pedals going in, and then you've got your elevator control linkages. Look at this. This is what I said before about it. It makes you feel like you're actually building the real aircraft because everything's here. And it shows the configuration after assembly of that section. Rudder control links going in here. And then you've got your ammo box, ammunition box for the cannons. This is the main cannons on the wing, and that actually goes underneath the pilot. Gosh, he's sitting on it basically, isn't he? Oof. Okay. Yeah, that's it's just ahead of his feet, in fact, isn't it? And then we've got the firewall, the machine gun shelf, and then you've got a front fuel tank and rear fuel tank here. A lot of fuel tanks, aren't there? What they should look like when they're done. This is going to be quite a long build, isn't it, I think? Oh my goodness. Am I cut out for this? Am I good enough? I don't know. Starting to get a confidence lift. Anyway, look at that. It shows the whole assembly once it's been done. Left side, right side. That's brilliant. The bottom view as well. Everything's clearly laid out so you know what it's supposed to look like. Then you're on to fuselage. Check this first. They're very important. This is what they mention also in the additional sheet about checking the alignment and do lots of dry fitting on this. Make sure it is perfect. And they give a little bit of advice about things to trim, don't they? Drop tanks. Drop tanks. Drill holes for your drop tanks if you require. Okay, over here we've got the fuselage bulkheads going in. These like kind of like an A-frame or fuselage supports. Looks like they've got oxygen bottles in there and all sorts. Bulkhead, air bottle. Yeah, air bottles, oxygen bottles it'll be for high altitude. Just look at the detail. I'm almost lost for words. Look at it. You're building up every support bulkhead all the way back. Fantastic. Look at that. Next section is where you're actually going to bring in the outer skin. The top. There's a top section and then an outer skin section to avoid any seams. Shows you the colours you need to paint them in. Radio access hatches. You can have the hatch in the open position if you want, wedged open with a stay or a strut. Tail wheel assembly. God, it's just mind-boggling, isn't it, really? It really is. It's quite a complicated looking tail wheel assembly actually, isn't it? It's got a damper built into it and it goes right up, the support for it goes right up into the tail. So it's quite a strong, this is why they were very good on rough landing fields, because they had very strong undercarriage on the FW190. The vertical tail fin then has got all this assembly built into it here, and then you've got like a strengthening plate that goes in on the leading edge, and again they're trying to avoid a seam, aren't they? Good design for the model. Assembling the vertical tail, so it's a separate modular tail. Let's hope that's a good fit. I'm sure it will be. And then you've got the rudder going in on here. You've still got like a cutout so you can see the internal workings. One of these things I talked about let's have the option to leave a panel off and you can see the internal workings better than a clear outer panel, you know. Horizontal stabiliser and elevators going in here. Tail undercarriage access hatch, so that's so they can lubricate the undercarriage mechanism for the tail wheel. Jeez, incredible, isn't it? Really, look at the detail of that. Yes, we don't get that with so many other manufacturers, do we? Right, building our wings and landing gear. So you've got a whole section that's just all the ribs, basically. There's a spar and the ribs are all one piece, it looks like. So, okay, no, it's not one piece, it's just the way that they're pre-warning you that's what it'll look like when you put it together at the end. But you're going to build up this section, so you've got lots of small parts of the sprue you need to cut out, which strengthens it. And as I mentioned, you're going to put your spar in here, main spar, and then you're going to attach it to the two internal wings with all the ribs, smaller spars if you will. They call it a mount frame. Options for the drop tanks they mention here. Don't forget you might need to drill it out. There's going to be cut if you attach the fuel tanks. Okay, so it's just you need to study these instructions with great care. They're not kits you should charge into and I think you should disregard the instructions because they've been so well researched. You should certainly take note of what they're saying. Wheel well roof there. That looks great, doesn't it? That looks really good. And then moving along and completing that section, putting it into the main structure. Then you've got your MG151 cannons coming in. Shows the position angles of them here. Look at that. And they've got MG FF cannons. What's the difference really? think the FF are the later ones, aren't they? A bigger caliper? I think they are. Interesting. A compressed air bottle for the cannons. Powers the cannons. Gosh, look at that. Here. Compressed air bottle to power it. It's probably part of the recoil suppression as well, isn't it? Main wing plate going in here, and then you're ultimately going to bring your skin down, if you wish. The outer skin, and refer to the paragraph about preparation of the cannons. Okay. Ailerons going on the end of the wing there. Then we're going to have some landing flaps. You've got an option of raised or lowered. Looks really nice the way they split, doesn't it? Look at that. That's super. And then we're going to be bringing the wings and the fuselage together. So you've got a couple of little fillets here that are going to go in either side to mate up with the wing. Make sure it's all smooth. Plenty of test fitting needed. If you're going to use the drop tanks, you need to make sure you've got a different panel, I think it is, for the lower section of the fuselage. And then again, shows the parts configuration after assembly very, very clearly. Here you've got the, looks like ammunition boxes, yeah, ammo boxes for the MG17 machine guns, right in front of the bulkhead that's got the fuel tank on the other side. Oh, that's a good idea, isn't it? Still, can't be helped, I suppose. It's just tightly packaged, isn't it? Engine bearers, look at these. Now this is this area where there was the addendum sheet, and it said that you could actually put the frame that mounts the engine mount, you can actually put that onto the bearers separately and then mount the engine onto that. I think that's probably just best tinkered around with just to see which you think is going to be the easiest way to do it. Probably down to personal preference. They seem to be saying you can do it either way, so they're not saying why perhaps, but obviously it's something that needs just a little bit of attention. Exhaust shield flaps here. Open position for the flaps or closed. Look at that. That's nice. Let's bring you in a bit more here. You see it here. Closed or open flaps for the exhausts. That's cool. Oil tank, of course, goes kind of around the front of the engine. Zoomed in a bit too much. Come back a bit. There we go. And then you're going to mount your machine guns. Looks brilliant, doesn't it? And then you've got your top removable machine gun access hatch, and there's an option here whether you want it open or not. Two different options clearly there. And then you've got the main cowls, you can have them open or closed option here. And you've even got the lower cowl flaps, you can have them open or closed as well. Excellent. It's fantastic, isn't it? And then again, in typical Zoukei Mura style, they show what they look like from the front, from the top, yeah, from the left, from the right. It's all there, isn't it? Absolutely brilliant. Engine front ring, the cover ring, which I think has got, an intake in it as well. Actually, a small intake. Covers the fan, and then you've got an option here. What's all that about? Depends on whether you're going to have that. What does that mean? Sorry, parts configuration after assembly. There's an option anyway. Engine ring at the front. There's two types basically. And then you've got the landing gear coming on here. So now we're going to build up our wheels, getting those onto the legs. You've got some, what looks like some fairly realistic wiring for the hydraulic lines. Yeah, hydraulic lines, not wiring, sorry. I make it sound like it's electrical. And then you've got the main gear doors going on there. Shows the way they should be fitted. You've got your machine gun port covers, or the cannon ports when it's the optional cannons. Quite a similar setup really. Undercarriage indicators. This is where you have like a rod which pops up, a bit like on the Spitfire actually. You got that on the Spitfire, but it's further back. On the Focke-Wulf it's much further forward towards the leading edge, and it pops up when the gear is down. Quite a use. It's just a visual clue for the pilot to know that not to rely on the instruments, you know. In fact, I'm not sure they even had an instrument for that. It's probably, I guess that is the instrument really. Isn't that cool though? They've gone to every detail. It's spot on, isn't it? Wheel covers and the retractor for the wheels and the doors, and then showing your landing gear angles here, exactly what they should be like. And then getting toward the end of the build, we've now got the spinner and the prop going on the front, in front of the fan onto the main boss of the propeller drive shaft. You've got your windscreen complete with armour plate, and there's a reflector gun sight here as well. A Revi 12 reflector gun sight, there you go. And there's a nice diagram of it there as well. Looks brilliant. Canopy, obviously you can have it open or closed. In the closed position it's this first section here. And if you want it open, it's going to be slid back and it's going to look something like that. Brilliant. MG151 machine gun access doors. So I'm actually wrong, aren't I? It has the machine guns and the cannons. Yep, it's got the cannons further out. Is that right? I think so. It seems to be showing the machine guns, doesn't it, there, inboard, and then the cannons out here more outboard, which is cool. Access doors for both. You've got access hatches underneath, and again, nice photograph showing you which way is how it should look. You've got your pitot tube. To zoom out a bit of this. Pitot tube going on there. You've got your navigation light at the back of the tail on the rudder, and then you've got another pitot tube on the leading edge of the wing. Aerials, I think that's an aerial. What's that other? No, it's not an aerial, is it? It's another pitot tube, in fact, hanging down from the fuselage. Then we've got the ladder for the pilot, extendable ladder. It's retractable, of course. Quite a clever design. It was quite ahead of its time for this. Well, that's what the modern American jets all have them on now, don't they? Completed view with no drop tank. I think I'm going to do mine without the drop tank this time. I think so, because when I do mine, it's going to be this Amiens sort of scenario where it's going to be chasing. Early in 1944, it's chasing a Mosquito, and it wouldn't have drop tanks on for that. And then we have the finished aircraft in colour, showing you what it should look like. Finished model. I'm finished with drop tanks here, and again, if you want the drop tank, which is an option, here's what you do with the drop tank. What are they? I think is it 300 litres, something like that. Does it say? I think it does say at the beginning. And then you've got some advice about how to put your decals on. That's what the finished kit should look like. And then we've got the colour call out. So we've got yellow 4 here. Siegfried Schnell, which I think I might go for actually. I might go for that. And then you've got all the call outs, all of the stencil call outs are there, as well as the decals. Not too many, I don't think, not too many. And then you've got number 2, which is the Eastern Front one, typical Eastern Front camo. Very topical for this time of the year in the Northern Hemisphere. And yeah, that might well run with a tank underneath. Very nice. Nice decals. Very eye-catching. And then at the end you've just got your sprue mat basically. So there we have it. Just get my zoom to work. There we go. So, very comprehensive instructions. Number of complaints from me, 0. Lovely. Love it, love it, love it. Right then, the bit you've all been waiting for, you're really waiting for. Let's just get on with this. I'm not going to worry too much about these bags. I'm going to build this model at some point. Let's have a look at what we got. Okay, we're starting off here with, I think these, the area around, I could be wrong, but I think it's the area around the exhaust, isn't it? These hatches on the side. It's a very nice one to start off with. So that's that one. And then we've got some nice parts of engine. So I'll just put this one in. BMW 14-cylinder radial engine. now then. Ooh, yes, 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 yes. Complete with the fan, the cooling fan that goes at the front of the engine, look. Isn't that nice? Yep. So you've got all your con rods here. Whoops, con rods here. Too close, aren't I? All your con rods, and you've got all your cylinders. Beautifully detailed, beautifully moulded. You've got all our exhausts, and they are kind of hollowed out, sort of slidey mould type. Which is why we've got the sprue bridge here. I don't think you can just make that out properly. There we go, our exhausts. Yeah, very, very nice indeed. You've got the front of your engine right here. Some wonderful, wonderful details. Look at the gear. Look at the gearing here. Gears. Isn't that nice? That's pretty special, to be honest. And you've got the end of the propeller shaft here on the engine, straight with its splines. Look at the splines. Aren't they good? That's fantastic. They don't seem to have done this cylinder head with all the with the actual cylinders in, but then again, a radial engine, it's not really so appropriate, is it, to be quite honest. That was beautiful. Next one, we have got some wheels undercarriage parts. Here we go. And we've got different types of tyres. We've got the ribbed tread here. And we've got the smoother tread here. Not completely smooth, they've still got some character on them, like lateral ribs. You can see that. But very nice, really nice. There's the wheel hubs, and you've got the actuators there. Here's the main legs. You can see here we've got these lovely hydraulic lines for the brakes, all separate. And the Zoukei Mura plastic is lighter in colour than it seems to than it used to be. Over here we've got these are the fillets for the wings, joined to the fuselage. Obviously we've got our big chunky Focke-Wulf 190 huge gear doors. Very, very nice parts. So here you've got the leading edge. This is the machine gun access covers on the leading edge of the wing. Super. That's great. We haven't gone for weight on wheels though, I noticed. That's the one thing they don't seem to do. Which is a bit of a shame. I don't think I'll mark them down for that. It was exactly the same with the Tamiya F35, wasn't it? Some manufacturers don't seem to like doing it. I'm not sure what their philosophy is there. But let's have a look at some wings. Oh yes. Wow. Gonna like this. Look at the ribs, the framing for the internals of the wing. Got all of these ribs. Some absolutely knockout detail. It's got all sorts of like hydraulics in it for the gun bays, basically. Linkages, you see it here. I think I need to zoom in a bit more for this. Look very carefully. This here, these are linkages for the guns, basically. Like mechanical linkages to operate the guns. Isn't that amazing? You've got all the ribs. So obviously you've got these ones, the centre ones, you need to cut them off. And there. And then you are going to build up with your main spar, which is here. And then we've got our machine guns also hiding over here. Here, sorry. And then the actual wing skin itself. Very, very nice. Very, very fine panel lining. Very subtle indeed, in fact. Looks spot on that actually. Doesn't it? It's not too heavy, not been overdone. Just kind of just right. See that? Yeah, that's very, very beautiful. Smashing. And we've actually got the gun barrels. I've just realised what they are. It's the gun barrels here where my thumb is. You see that? And it's slide moulded. We've got hollow end to the barrel. Both of them. That's nice, isn't it? That's nice. Gun barrels with hollow barreled ends. Don't really need to get any aftermarket for that, which is cool, because it's one of the things that I think we do often go and get, isn't it? That's, oh sorry, that's the aerial. Skipped over that. That's the aerial, isn't it? Main radio aerial, I think, at the bottom here. Yeah. Superb, absolutely fantastic. Very nice sprue indeed. I'm enjoying this. Oh, he says he's just broken something. Oh, I've had a typical Peter Oxley moment. Well, I just have to say, my thumb just slipped as I was moving it. It's just caught that, so I'll have to just repair it later. That's a very fine part. I'm just going to report it. One of those linkages. Oops. Well, it would be one of my videos if something didn't go wrong, wouldn't it? You know, if it was a power cut today or whatever we had from one of my other shows. Right. Yeah. Fuselage. Check this out. Rumph. There we go. Try not to break anything this time. You've got to be so careful. There's such fine parts that they're moulded, you know. So here's your main fuselage side, and you've got your rudders here as well, with nice, very nice moulding of the very subtle stretched skin. Top here, where the runner rail goes for the retracting canopy. And of course it has this big bubble canopy on the FW190. It was one of the first aircraft to have a really large bubble canopy. Kurt Tank's innovative designs. You've got two different options here for the different machine guns that fire through the propeller on top of the fuselage over the engine. And there's two different covers there, and then there's two different access hatches here. And then over here you've got the lower fuselage panel, and then you've got the opposite side of the fuselage complete with radio hatch there, as you see. Yeah, it's very hard. I'm not sure if it's picking this up so well on the camera, but the plastic is different. It's a much lighter coloured plastic. It's much paler in shade. I'm trying to think what it reminds me of. It reminds me of something from the past. Whose does it remind me of? It's a little bit like Airfix's plastic used to be many years ago, actually. It's better quality, I think, in fairness. It's just the look of it, the colour. It's quite a pale, but it's probably a good colour as a base when you want to paint, actually. Well, that's a beautiful sprue. Nothing wrong with anything there. And some lovely details. Did we actually get into that? Look at the I don't know if it's where there's a fuel breather pipe comes out of here, isn't there? But isn't that nice? Yeah. I mean, it's just gorgeous moulding. It's got to be said. Absolutely fantastic. There we go. That's that one done. Nothing broken this time. It's changed for me. Right, for this one. So what have we got here? We've got a lot of the horizontal stabilisers and elevators. There we go. Also got the fuel tanks that we mentioned earlier. There's many fuel tanks all over the plane. But look at the way they've... now here's something clever. They've got some interesting locating points here where the horizontal stabilisers are going in. Look how solid that looks. It's like an interlocking section. And then you have got, on the opposite side, the other face, it's got a single interlocking piece. So obviously this is going to plug in a very sturdy way. And then we've got our... There is actually an alternative rudder here. So obviously there's going to be different versions of this model, I think, coming out. This here is that rather interesting leading edge of the tail, where they've put the idea is to basically avoid a seam line, a join line down the tail. Beautiful, isn't it nice? See that? Got like rivets in it as well. That's very, very nice. And you've got your elevators over here. And then we've got our flaps. Yes, flaps. They look absolutely fantastic. Again, no need for any photo etch to mess that up. Because Zoukei Mura don't go in for photo etch, do they really? And I think they're all the better for it, because you don't need photo etch. When you've got injection moulding at this level, photo etch is just a nuisance, frankly, superfluous, completely unnecessary. Look at this here with the linkages and connectors on it. These are control linkages, I think, from the it's part of the rear. This goes in the fuselage, doesn't it? It's part of the rear wheel assembly. Amazing. Then we've got part of the internals of the fuselage there, the floor, basically, internal floor. Isn't that nice? Wow. Well, I haven't seen anything I don't like so far. Let's hope they can keep it up. Keep going. Don't let me down. They really do. They really do. We've got a really beautiful looking screw coming up now. This is going to be eye candy. Look at this. Oh, this is superb. My God, check this out. Look at the propeller. That is a work of art. Isn't that gorgeous? Right down to the boss in the centre. Just look at that. I think I've zoomed a little too much. There we go. Just go out of it. Look at that. What a stunning propeller. Look at the way they've attached the sprue contact gate. Just in the right place. It's not going to be seen there because it's covered by the spinner. That is perfect design. And then we've got the spinner itself just here. That's nice. And you've got all the frontage, and there are two options here. The frontage has got these two different ring options at the front. Here we've got that open tail with the access hatch panel in it for accessing the mechanism for the rear tail wheel. Isn't that good? Oh boy. Here we've got our wheels. And we've got part of the instrumentation bulkhead there. Then over here we've got our drop tank. Two different, seems to be two different versions actually. Here we have got the, it looks like a different main gear leg. Completely, see how it's sprung? The leg is sprung at the bottom, suspension. That's why it could take the rougher fields, isn't it? Our built-in suspension on the Oleo. Proper, well, exactly that, an Oleo leg. Modern style. And then we've got our lovely big door covers, slightly different version. You've got hatches, cowling hatches, and then lots of bits of framework, and your wheel well roof, so to speak. Look at that. Oh. And you got, this is the open or closed vents, exhaust flaps on the side. Oh, it's just such a lovely sprue though, isn't it, that? It's just sublime, isn't it? Absolutely fantastic. If I'm honest in terms of on my eye, it seems less impactful than I expected, but it's not the actual moulding, it's the plastic. It's very light coloured, and my brain can't quite adjust to it. It seems odd. Not like Tamiya or Zoukei Mura of the past, even the recent past. It definitely seems to be a different plastic to the BF109 G14 they did. Anyway, a couple of the big ones are gone, they're getting a bit smaller now. Let's have a look at this one. So here we've got various parts to do with the fuselage, and we've got, starting off here with the pilot's seat, which looks very nicely formed. Didn't give us any seat belts, did they? That's one extra you might need to buy. It's probably the only thing. This is that hatch cover for the tail, for that hatch that you see, the access panel for the tail wheel assembly. Here we've got the radio. A little fan there, cooling fan. Is that for the radio as well? I think it might be for the instrument and radio at the back. That's impressive. Got the combing on top of the instrument panel where the gun sight's going to go here. There's a little box of tricks, the radio or instrumentation box there. You've got your little oxygen bottles. And then we've got the rear this is the fuselage just behind the pilot's head, just ahead of the radio area. There's an access hatch in it where the cockpit canopy will be over the top. And then you've got various of these bulkheads that go down to the back of the fuselage. Several of those, there's another one over here. And we've got our tail wheel, and there seems to be two options there too. I think one's a 1943 option and one's slightly later. I know it's late 43, early 44. And then we've got a couple of, I'm not sure what they are actually, are they rails? I think they might be aerials or rails that go down the fuselage, I'm sure. You've got the headrest here at the back of the seat, armour plating and headrest. Wow. Your rudder pedals. Some lovely parts. It's flawless though, there's not a sign or a hint of flash anywhere. Perfectly moulded. This new plastic I mentioned, I'm not sure it's new plastic or it's just a new colour, but it just it doesn't have the contrast, puts quite such a high contrast, which I think will probably be more evident, perhaps even more evident to you when you're watching the video, because I think with the bright lighting I've got, that might make it worse. But things are not popping quite as much as they normally do, but it's just that it's so light. It's filling the eye a little bit, but the actual moulding is sublime, as you'd expect really. Now we've got the lower wings and we've got the cannons and the hatches that are associated with it. So yeah, lower wing and the cannon access port hatch, and here are the cannons over here. And you've got your ammunition drums, feed drums here. And the various hatches and the leading edge cover where the cannon comes out there. That's nice, isn't it? And again, you've got some beautiful, quite subtle detail of the sort of panel lines and access hatches on the inside of the wing. Done it very nicely though. It's flawless, isn't it? It's flawless. Like I say, the lighter plastic makes it slightly harder to pick out the detail with your eye. Once you paint it, of course, it'll just bang, it'll just pop. You know. I wonder what's made them change the colour of their plastic then. Certainly seems different to what they've used before. Because they're actually manufacturing this in China. Zoukei Mura are doing a little bit like what Wing Nut Wings did. They're manufacturing in China to keep their costs down, basically. But they are clearly very tightly controlling the quality, which is what Wing Nut Wings did. You know, it was only after Wing Nut Wings were gone that you started to see World War I triplanes with bad quality and things like that from Maine, wasn't it? But look at this, we've got our ailerons here, very beautifully detailed. Got those leading edge covers for the guns. You've got another one of the wheel options here with the covered in wheel. Again, leading edge gun cover there. And there are a couple of different options in fact on those ailerons. One's slightly deeper, I think. Slightly deeper. But the moulding, sophistication of the moulding, I mean, things like the little tyre valves, you know, that's in the wheel. Brilliant. So sharp, you know. It's absolutely perfect. And then that just leaves one more. And then the clear parts. One more grey. Small one here, which appears to have the machine guns actually attached in their mounting. That's quite interesting, isn't it? This is the top machine guns, I think, on top of the fuselage. And they have this like a raised mounting to position them clear of the bodywork, obviously, and firing out through the spinner. Sorry, through the propeller, I should say, not the spinner. Doesn't have a cannon in the spinner like the F1 ME109. I nearly made a faux pas then, like Border Model, didn't I? I got them mixed up. But look at that! Look at the details here. The little wiring harness detail there. It's nice, isn't it? Gorgeous. I can't tell from my eye whether the camera's doing a better job than my eyes are doing. I think it probably is actually, in showing you the details. Because under these very bright lights, this lighter plastic is it's sort of bleaching out a little bit, and your eyes not picking it up quite the same. That's got a better lens than my eyes have got, I think. But isn't that nice? Last one then, clear parts. Cross your fingers. I mean, Zoukei Mura normally are really excellent. That's still the case here. So, two types, of course. We've got the one that's got the more bulging bubble style, and then the more straight style. Well, they're absolutely beautiful. There's no distortion there, I can see, to the naked eye. No distortion to speak of at all. So here's your slightly more bulging bubble style. And then here's the straighter style. Nice, isn't it? Just getting reflections of the other parts there. And then you've got your windscreen is here. And then you've also got your instrumentation clear parts here, which I think will work really well. You've also got your armour plated glass that goes in front of the pilot on the windscreen there. That's got a slight bit of distortion in it actually, but I kind of wonder if they've done that on purpose just so it doesn't look too clear. Because I'm sure it wasn't very clear, relatively speaking. Quite thick glass, I think that's what they tried to replicate, because it seems deliberate that. So there's nothing wrong with that one, is there? That one looks absolutely great. So, there we have it. What a beautiful kit. Beautiful kit. Was it worth the wait? Yes, I think it was. Is it the best kit of the year? Well, I'll talk about that. I'll decide that at a later date. Because it would be silly to spoil the fun by trying to come to that conclusion today. Just wanted you to see it. I'm probably one of the first people around, certainly in the UK, to get my hands on it and be able to review it. So I'm very grateful to my supplier. He knows who he is. Thank you very much for that. It's interesting as well with the artwork on this. They've kind of gone for what is, instead of having two versions of the artwork, which I think is what they did with the G14, a special edition version that was kind of like a silhouetted without a flying scene. This time they've gone for a traditional artwork, which is very nice. Yeah, that's how to go to B17, or it just has done. But it's flawless. It's just perfection in a box. It leaves no questions in your mind about how you should go about building it. And I think for the money, you know, you can pick this up currently you can pick it up in the UK for around about £95, I think. Generally that's the price I've seen banded around. It's beautiful. I mean, you know, at that price, as I mentioned in my Zoukei Mura talk, that's the same price as a reboxed, reissued old 24 scale plane, which is not comparable in quality. I'm not knocking it. Obviously, it's a lot of plastic and different concept altogether, but you're getting so much for your money in that box. It's absolutely amazing, and plus you're getting Siegfried Schnell. That figure as well. That figure's beautiful. I mean, you know, to pick that up for around £95 with the figure included, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. Is it the greatest kit of the year? Well, we'll discuss that at a later date, I think. But it's absolutely stunning. Absolutely stunning kit. Anyway, I'm going to give it, perhaps predictably, I'm going to give it 10 out of 10. I hope you agree with me. You know, the only thing you'd have to be very picky to moan about it. It hasn't got weight on wheels. But there seems to be a trend with the Japanese manufacturers. They don't seem to like doing that very much at all, do they? Interestingly, because Tamiya are the same. But it's not really a fault, I don't think. I'm going to build this kit. That's why I've just got it all out for you to see properly. And I'm going to look forward to building that as well. I think it's going to be quite an experience, you know. And the fact that I don't have to be, you know, it isn't a guessing game. I know I've got clear indications about what I need to do, how I need to finish it, how I need to build it. It's all there. It's going to be a really enjoyable experience, fun, you know. A really enjoyable build that will really take you into it, into the engineering, into the history. Absolutely fantastic. Well done, Zoukei Mura. 10 out of 10 from me. And I just want to say thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it and found it interesting, getting a first look at it. If you haven't got one of these already, you need to get one quick, because I think the initial tranche is probably going to run out quite quickly, especially once people see this video. Yeah, they're going to be in the shops very briefly, I think, to be honest. And if you haven't pre-ordered one, you may still be able to get one or two. But I would certainly get one, even if you can't. Even if you have to wait a little bit for the next shipment, I would try and get yourself one, because it's such a beautiful kit. You know, that's the best 190 kit ever. Gotta be. You know, we're comparing it with obviously the Revell one previously, which isn't bad, but it's of its time, and this is brand new and state of the art. So a beautiful, beautiful model kit, and may we see more of those. Hope that next year we'll get something similar from them. Not the same, but something of similar quality, certainly. I'm sure we will, in due course. And all best wishes to Zoukei Mura for Christmas, and to all of you for Christmas. Come to that. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you'll tune in over the Christmas period. We have got one or two other little reviews, some interesting ones. Not quite as big blockbuster box office as this, perhaps, but one or two things that just keep you interested while you're, you know, having your turkey sandwiches or turkey curry or whatever. And I'll probably have a show where I talk about what I think is my top 10. It will not be. I don't want people to shoot me down in flames like last year. Though. I'm not going to give a definitive top 10 of the year. There are plenty of kits I didn't view because I didn't want them. So it'll be the top 10 kits that I have reviewed. So let's just be clear about that. So my rules, my results, okay. Well, I think we'll have a few laughs, and I'm going to have a bit of champagne or something nice to drink anyway. And I don't know, maybe we'll have a quiz or something. I don't know. Just have a general chit chat and just me being silly for about an hour or so. Anyway, I look forward to that. That's probably going to be the Friday the 29th or Saturday the 30th. I haven't quite decided yet. Depends on how busy I am over Christmas myself. I'm going to try and get some modelling done, of course. Anyway, in the meantime, I hope you have a great time. Thanks very much for watching. Have a great Christmas. Take care. Stay safe, stay well, and stay warm. Thanks a lot. Till next time. Bye for now.